All right. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Operate First Data Science Community Meetup. Thank you all for coming. Today we're going to have Karsten Wade talk to us a little bit about kind of the community overall, I think, and kind of how this particular meetup will be evolving over the next couple of iterations, let's say. So unless there's any other questions before we get started, I can hand it over directly to Karsten.
Great, thanks. I'm going to hold for any questions, but before I get started.
Yeah, I think that's good. Go ahead,
All right.
Karsten, take it away.
Right on. So I am going to share a screen with you, and I know it's going to work because it just did a few moments ago when I was testing. And just some slides to, I don't think, well, actually I've got some graphics in here, so it's good. We'll have some things to talk through. And just something to help keep us on agenda and keep us on flowing, and to help scope things. And I'm also just going to go ahead and draw attention to something that might be kind of obvious at the beginning, and you may notice throughout that there's not a lot of style to these slides. And that's both by accident and on purpose. I left the styling towards the end and to see if I had a good solution, and I didn't. And one of the things about working in an open collaborative community is sometimes you just can't get everything done, but the more important thing is sometimes you want to leave room for other people to be able to do things. And there's somebody else out in the world who may have a way better idea for an Operate First standard slide deck presentation style than I do. And maybe that person will notice my terrible blank slides and be driven with an inner desire to fix it and make it better. So these slides are they're somewhere, and I can get a link for those. I wanted to have the link here at the beginning, and I didn't have it tapped. So let me grab that really fast. It may mean I actually might break. Will I break sharing? I don't think so. Yeah. Did I break sharing? No. Let me grab that link, and this should be a public URL, blah, 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 make sure it's wide open. And I'm showing all this stuff on my personal Google account, because if you've ever tried to share anything outside of your own Google group, Google thing, like the way Red Hat has, and you know how difficult it can be. So it's for anybody who wants to follow along or out there. But in here is a nice, useful slide that does a little explaining about Operate First. So we will get to that. So first of all, a quick introduction for myself now that I've gone on for so long. I'm a principal community architect in the open source program office at Red Hat. And what that means is I think a lot about and then help design and build out communities that are able to scale for doing open collaboration, for doing open source work. And also make sure those communities are well stewarded, have the ability to take care of themselves and the people involved in it, so that it's successful from the aspect of people are happy and things are getting done. And so I want to talk to you today about this particular meetup, which has been a successful part of the Operate First community for a while, and how we can scale this beyond where it's been at. Yeah. So let me jump to our next one. So so we already cruised through the introduction part, and what I want to do is spend just a few minutes baselining on what the Operate First project and community is. And most likely you either know this already, or you have an opinion about it or something. You may not learn anything new other than to learn how it is that I am describing Operate First to people who are coming into the concept for the first time. But this will give me a chance to also then talk for a few minutes about the community concept on top of it. So. And then after that, we'll spend the rest of the time, I'll just talk a little bit more about why, the who, what, and why of expanding communities, what that means and why we want to do that, and why I'm bringing that to you all here today to take a look at and help us spread the idea around. So essentially, Operate First is a project that consists of humans, a community of people who are working on doing a thing. And the thing that we're working on doing in particular is doing an actual physical running prototype of an all open source community cloud. And it gives us a place to learn how to make software and cloud operations better. by running them in this environment. And what does that really mean? Well, in regular open source development, you have an upstream project where the development's been happening, and that code will then move through a testing process, and after the continuous integration process, they would have things working great. You'll do a deployment, and then it goes out to your users. And if this is a managed service and a cloud, then those users might be getting nightly updates of that code. They're getting access to that stuff on the regular. And one of the great things about this is that users have a direct or indirect, a reasonable pipeline to give feedback back to the upstream developers and to have some influence on what is going on in that environment, and also a chance to take a look at the testing and possibly get a little bit ahead of the testing that you might have to do yourself. Because if you've ever been involved in operations, you know you don't just necessarily take the upstream code and immediately throw it on your servers and walk away on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. But rather you run some tests and confirm that it's actually going to run in your environment before you roll it out. And even in a modern cloud environment, those tests may be all automated and roll it out against 10% of your servers and see if it runs, and then automate, roll it back, or roll it forward, depending on what's going on. So all of that's happening out there. But ultimately, it's going right from the testing to users for the most part. So in the operate first model, everything starts out the same when we've got this upstream development, and things can go into the testing pipelines. But at that moment, we insert the community cloud. And the community cloud is a place that's actually operationally running the way a proper commercial cloud is, to the most degree, without any of those restrictions of that kind of environment, and meaning that you can potentially have access as a developer to all the telemetry and all the data all the way down to the metal itself, right? Or beyond, down to the chip level, or whatever it is you need to be getting that you might have access to. And so that means that all that code is getting tested before it goes to the users in another environment that's an actual live environment with other code that's running live as well with real workloads. And then so the users have two opportunities now. They maintain their regular open source upstream. I can file a bug report and talk about it with my developers, or those developers, that is. Or I can go get directly involved in the community cloud space, either by doing something there or taking copies of what's going on there and doing my own testing and proving against my integrated cloud environment while the upstream development's going on. So at the moment of release, I've already done my testing, and maybe I am pretty close to rolling that code out at 5 o'clock on a Friday, or at least 4 o'clock on a Thursday, something like that. So that's the general idea of what we would be doing as Operate First, is to be introducing this concept and the actual practices for how you can create an open operations environment that people can get things done in, and test and prove their code inside of, and also develop SRE practices, and most importantly, developing better automation, better AI ops throughout all of this together in that space. So that's my general all-in-one slide presentation for what the project is. If there's any questions right here, I'll definitely take them, but otherwise I can go on to the next part of what the relevance is to this meetup. Okay. Oh yes, of course, multiple open source projects are testing and proving. Yes, I did. So both users and I think I said that. So obviously there was one graphic. So yeah, no fancy graphics. Let's just jump in, animation that is. Let's just jump right in. I'll give you all of the bits, right? So what does it mean to be talking about expanding the community? And I think, I realized I think I had a slide in here. I think of a slide in here. Let me just pause my brain for a moment, where I was going to talk a little bit about the history of this meetup. And I think actually it's probably worth doing that before I go forward. And that, I don't necessarily have the biggest, what am I trying to say? I'm not the holder of the story of this meetup. It's just something that I've been aware of since it was actually one of the first things I was aware of before I even became involved in the project last year in April. And essentially I think that there's an intertwining of the brand of Operate First, which is something that evolves as people come across it and understand and think about it, and the concepts and practices of data science, and the sort of proof in the pudding, the proof in reality within the community cloud of how much how important data science is, both the tools and the practices to to what we're doing to be moving things forward. You know, we're not trying to open source a cloud from the past. We're trying to create an open source cloud going into the future, which means using all of these, you know, all of these modern processes for automation. So there's an integration or an intimate intertwining, I guess, of data science and the operate first concept and what we're doing here, and why it is that certain people from Red Hat, for example, have been deeply involved in the project for a long time, because it scratches those itches of wanting to improve this place where development and operations meet together. So from my perspective as a community architect, we want to be, there are several things, you know, always want to find things that are successful in the community and help them to scale out and do a little bit more if they want to do more, and take on more helpers, and spread the fun about doing the actual work together. Because doing work in collaboration is something that sparks us as humans, our desire to work with other people on things. And it can turn something that is like toil or difficult and no fun into something that's fun and productive and have more to it because of the actually having humans involved. So that's essentially where my attention was on this meetup, and talking with or just being, paying attention and wanting to be sure that helping to steward what was going forward with it. And in discussions with the organizers, with Akanksha and with Michael, and also talking to people who've organized it in the past, one of the things that became evident was that it was a task that people had taken on as part of their job roles, essentially, and it was something that they were doing because it was fun and valuable. But when it's just one person doing, one or two people doing it, you're not getting to do it as part of a collaboration. It can become kind of onerous over time, and I think that that's going to be basically the fate of something, as long as it's always one person passes it to another person, or one or two people. It's a very small thing and doesn't have any kind of feeling beyond that, any connection to group. Because it's one thing to be having a group come and watch the thing that you're doing, but it's another thing to be working with a group to create what other people are experiencing, and that's the part that is important. So, in essence, and I think this is what I wanted to tie up with is, I chose the words expanding the community on purpose, because I wanted to keep away from what many people think about when people say growing communities or things like that. It often sounds like a recruiting effort, like we need to go get more people. And sure, more people is always great, but when there are people who are around, and those people are the very first people who should be given opportunities to do cool new things. And so what that means is looking within the community that exists and inviting people to take the opportunity to step into a role, to step up and do something, and to help make something happen. And part of this is that by taking a job that has been done by one person and breaking it down into multiple roles, it also makes it easier for everybody involved, because you only have a smaller part of a whole. It can be like one person doing a job can be very efficient, but a group can be efficient because the thing gets done with a much lower stress level. It's almost like it can just kind of happen and come together if everybody does their 1 or 2 hour piece that's needed to make the thing happen. And I think a really important aspect of this is that we have to remember that people like to do things. People like to be helpful for each other, and people like to be helped, and people like to be asked to help, and who like to be offered chances to do things. And so that's essentially what I mean by spreading the love. It's something that makes us all feel better. It helps fire off our various hormones and serotonins and things that might give us that feeling of success and connection and things in the world. And even if I'm not feeling my serotonin and my connections to the stuff today, the stuff that I'm doing might help somebody else have that connection. So maybe another day they'll be doing something that helps me feel that connection right at the time when I need it. And the way we do that is we look and try to be very careful not to, what am I trying to say here? It's really easy in a community where people are doing things for the people who do things to just naturally become the people who keep doing things. And you notice, oh, that person's got it, they're on it, I don't have to worry about it, right? And that can be really powerful and really useful to know that things are done. You can that you get trust in people that they're doing things, and will do it the way that you want it to be done, and that you'll be happy about the results. But it also means that if you're missing the scaling up, the opportunity is being missed, and it's a natural thing that happens because we kind of do that as humans. I think in a group we recognize the expertise of others and want to defer to them a little bit, and also maybe a natural sense of maybe I'm not worthy or good enough for the situation. So a little bit of not wanting to do that. So it becomes really important for us to keep that in mind as a practice, that to not always step forward and volunteer to do the thing, but to look and help other people become the ones to volunteer, to go and ask somebody, say, hey, that looks like a thing that might be for you. Have you thought about going and doing that? You want some help asking about it. Or maybe asking somebody directly if they, hey, it looks like you're already leading that effort. Do you want to form that into a special interest group and help chair that thing? And I think the very last point of this is that ultimately the studies in science behind diversity of the power of diversity is pretty clear, that we all are more innovative and more brilliant in a group. And so it's an opportunity to give everybody a chance to be part of that innovation, part of the good idea bringing, and to have that experience of creating good ideas and doing cool things with other people. And that just gets to the part of how Michael introduced me of how, if what's the future of this meetup? Well, the future, is really a lot of possibility, a lot of things that can be there. The more, if there's a handful of people who can get behind organizing and taking this into the future, then we'll have, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be an exponentially more than it's been if it's gone from a few people who've been organizing and managing it and directing it to a group of people who are doing it. And so that's the tie-up of this, is that we've been Torsten and I have been working with Michael and the Conch for the last couple of months towards organizing, with the Conch doing most of the work. I shouldn't be laughing. Towards organizing how this meetup gets done, all the processes, all the tools, all the procedures. There's a fair bit of a little bit of manual steps and things along the way. There might be some ways to automate and tool some of it and so on. We've had some of those discussions, but ultimately it became obvious it was an opportunity to offer this out to not just all of you who are here, but those who weren't here, those who might watch this recording later, and say, here, this is an invitation to come and join the. We've got an active working group right now that is figuring out the future of who's going to be running these meetups and how that's going to happen. We've got a Conch as a member of that, and she and Torsten and Michael and I are committed to helping make sure this group keeps going forward. We don't miss a beat. There's still schedules going on. We'll still be taking in talks, but at the same time, in parallel, we want to be bringing on new people to be involved in the organizing, the presenting, not just the presenting itself, but all of the aspects of helping make this thing happen. And of course, it's an opportunity to present as well. You're not closed out from doing one thing or the other, but those do go hand in hand. So I think that is all that I've got. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see what questions and responses or comments I've got from folks out here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Karsten. Yeah, so does anybody have any questions?
I think I realized gosh, Michael and Torsten, what's our call to action to? What if somebody's like thinking about?
Yeah, I was going to say, if somebody's interested in getting involved with this, what could they do to get in touch with any of us, Karsten?
Yeah, I think with a working group, the idea is you sort of see who wants to do the work, and then you figure out when we're going to get together to do the work. And it's nice to have a regular touchstone of some kind where we can be in real time contact, kind of thing. And yeah, so that would contact one of us. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I don't have a personal hand on what it takes to run the meetups on the regular. Just talking to a conch, I've got an idea of what the details are. Michael might be able to give some idea of that, but what I saw though was, oh, here's something where people can put in, 15 minutes a week or an hour every other week and do something that will help make this whole thing come together, and then everyone gets to come here, and here it is. So if I wanted to provide you all that opportunity.
Yeah, there's that. And if all of you are already on the Operate First like Google Calendar, there's a number of events on there. One of them is I think it's called the Meetup Working Group or something. That's a good place to come in and join the conversation of how we actually go about making this event happen on a bi-weekly basis. So if that's something you're interested in, that's a good meeting to attend. If you don't have the calendar invite, let me know and I can make sure you have that. Yes, also, if everyone here should know that there's a public Slack available for the Operate First community. There's definitely a data science Slack channel, but I'm not sure if there's one specifically for the meetup. I think we've been kind of using the data science channel ad hoc for that until now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking that we might create an organizers channel so that just for all of like the administrivia discussions around organizing stuff, and then that way that would be a good place to come in and just ask questions. And I'm also mindful that a lot of that sometimes it really helps to have a personal invite, to have somebody who, and since I don't know all of y'all, everyone in particular, maybe just some of you, I don't know enough to know who'd be just the right kind of person for that. But if you know that you want a personal invite, or, and I mean it, I know it might sound kind of awkward, but sometimes it's really nice to have somebody say, no, I really, you got concerns, like maybe I can't do this, I'm not sure if I'm capable, give me a call, come grab me on chat, on Slack or whatever, and we can talk about it. And hopefully I can assure you that yes, you can. And if you know of somebody who would like an invite, pass the name along to me or Michael or Konksha or Torsten, and we can reach out to that person directly and say, hey, someone's flagged you and said that you might be a really good person to help organize this meetup. Are you interested in that? I think that's all we got. So
yeah. Any other questions? Comments? All right, cool. Well, with that, thank you so much, Karsten, for giving that chat today. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes in case people come up with any questions. But other than that, thanks so much, and we'll see you all in a couple weeks.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a good idea.